this part of the question is asking how fast the ball is going to hit the ground. So what we know, we want to set up that XY chart. We should have been doing that the whole time, but just for the sake of simplicity, I haven't been. So our delta y is the height, so that's negative 1.5. Our v initial y was 0. Our acceleration in the y direction is gravity, which is negative 10 meters per second squared. Our time in the y direction is the same as our time in the x direction, which was 0.55. And all there is left to find in the y direction is v final in the y. Now, x, we know that the delta x, since we just calculated it, was 1.76 meters. The v initial in the x direction was 3.2 meters per second. The acceleration in the x direction is 0, doesn't exist. Time in the x, time in the y, 0.5 seconds, and we need v final x. And then together, these two are going to equal our v final total. So that's what we're ultimately looking for. So in the problem, what we need to do is figure out v final y and v final x. So if you trace the path of a projectile, so there's our table, and our object is going to go off of it. It's going to impact over here. Now, if we were to actually zoom in and trace this stuff out, what you have is multiple vectors that come off, and one vector is in the x direction and one is in the y. So if we zoom into something very close to that circle down there, the impact, what we have is part of our velocity. It's in the x direction, going this way. And then we're going to have a component of our velocity, which is in the y direction, going straight down. So this part would be your v final y, and the other part would be your v final x. And when you put those two together, that becomes your resultant vector, which is your final answer of right here. So that is our plain old v final. So what we have to do is figure out what each piece is. Right, now, due to the fact that there is no x acceleration, v initial x will equal v final x. So that means we know that that's going to be 3.2 meters per second. So that part's taken care of. Then we need v final y. Now we know enough information for all the y's, so we can find this out relatively easily. We want to use the easiest equation we know, which is this one. So v final y is v initial y plus gravity times time. V initial is 0, gravity is negative 10, and the time is 0.55 seconds. So when you multiply that, you're going to get negative 5.5 meters per second. So that's v final y. So now we have to find the actual v final. So since this is a right triangle, because we're in the x and y direction, we can use Pythagorean theorem. So v final squared is equal to v final x squared plus v final y squared. So that's going to be v final equal to the square root of 3.2 squared plus negative 5.5 squared. And then the negative is going to cancel out when you square it. So just be sure that you actually type that out. So then we get 3.2 squared plus 5 squared. We get the square root of 40.49, which ends up being 6.36 meters per second. So this object will hit the ground at a speed of 6.36 meters per second.